Brad, when we talk about NLP and the way that it can instantly improve communication and skills, I think that we know that there are some high pressure moments, particularly in a professional sense, where people might need to give some feedback or they need to speak up, having a tough conversation, in a room where there might be peers. So peers that may be senior to them, etc. So what are some of the things that we talk about in NLP that can help people communicate more effectively with confidence in some of those situations?
Yeah. I think starting off with holding the end in mind, or holding the intention in mind. What is the outcome you actually want in that scenario? Now that's a little bit hard to think about in the moment. Okay, what's that about this question? I got to have this. Not that easy. All right. So one of the best things to do is always start with a conversation of setting up an agreement at the beginning of that conversation, which is big picture. So it might be along the line of, hey, I've got a point of view that might be a little bit challenging on what you're saying there. Is it okay if I have this conversation? Is it okay if I air this point of view? Is it okay if I call this out on this? Is it okay for me if I say something that might be a little bit off kilter to sort of get the conversation going, or something along those lines? And by pre-framing that process, it does set it up for you to be able to break down the barriers. It also allows you to start feeling comfortable because you've kind of not asked for permission, but you've pre-framed that you're going to be saying something a little bit difficult, a little bit off center, to be able to go through and do that. And when that takes place, it allows you to sort of, first of all, setting up that agreement. Therefore, there can't be a lot of resistance from it. The other important thing is being able to manage that state management. And again, that comes back down to thinking about that outcome that you want. We've all heard of the imposter syndrome and how that has an effect on people. And effectively, that what you're doing is you're thinking you're less than, or you're thinking you're not prepared for this, and therefore you're creating that result. So holding the outcome of what you want in that conversation and that meeting at the moment, pre-framing it, or reframing if you get feedback to the contrary, reframing that as far as, okay, that wasn't my intention to take this conversation down this path. Let's just backtrack here and work out how we got here in that scenario. And that can make a big difference as far as your confidence to be able to call out on a behavior that maybe is not necessarily going that well, or a conversation. And the other important thing when it comes to being able to, in front of a group of people, the best technique to have is being able to manage that state. And not always possible, but whenever you are someone who's really struggling and you feel that leading up to asking the question or leading up to the presentation, you're finding that emotions taking up there, then it's a really great way of stopping that in its tracks, and simply take your eyes and just look up. And by looking up directly, you break that connection to the kinesthetic, the emotional drive. And while you're looking up, you've got a chance to sort of reframe yourself and your mind, your process, and start thinking about the outcome you want. And then you can sort of move into that environment. It just sort of breaks that building of that emotion to the point where you start hyperventilating and sweating from your nose.
Dear, excellent.
Sweating from the nose.
Sweating from the nose. I'm not sure that I've ever sweat from my nose.
I have.
Oh, you mean on top of the nose? I was imagining like it coming down out of the nostrils.
So weird. We both thought that because it's so irrational to think that. We both thought.
Yeah, so instead of like beating of sweat on the nose like it normally happens, we both went to like gushing sweat out of the nose nostrils. Oh, God.
Oh, my God,
it's
so
late.
Fun. Before I had a really itchy nose and I'm like, I don't want to itch my nose because if I itch my nose, they're all going to itch their nose. And then I had to do it.